Welcome back to the channel. Absolutely delighted to be bringing you the North London Derby podcast tonight with my main man, Stefan. Huge Arsenal fan. Great to have him back on. We're also going to be looking at Man United as well towards the end of the show. And we're also going to preview the rest of the weekend's games. But there really is only one place to start. It's the game everybody's talking about, not just Spurs and Arsenal fans. It's all over Sky Sports. It's all over the media. And it is the North London Derby. Stefan, how are you feeling?
Um, I'm feeling, I'm feeling confident. That's what I'm gonna say, Gary. Very, very confident.
You know what? I think Arsenal fans have every right to be confident. Their home record against Spurs is fantastic. Arsenal are playing their best football, possibly since you go back to the Invincibles. They've been up there competing now. They've got a really strong squad of players, um, and they're starting to dominate games of football, kind of like what Man City are doing. I think where
Yeah,
even them 1-0 wins, they've been very favourable. They flattered the opposition. They dominated
it
all
really
them
did.
games. And the only really one they didn't win was the Fulham game, and they really should have won that game as well.
Yeah,
But Spurs, Stefan, come into this game. A lot of people didn't give Spurs much of a chance this season, of doing anything. But drew the opening game away at Brentford, and then they've won 4 in a row since. Obviously, that dramatic game that I was at last week against Sheffield United. So I know you're a very confident Arsenal fan, but is there any sort of concerns that, maybe we're hitting Spurs at the wrong time?
no, Gareth. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to sound, maybe arrogant as an Arsenal fan going into this game, but I've heard this before, Gareth. When I started supporting Arsenal, I remember the Harry Redknapp teams with Luka Modric, Gareth Bale. This is going to be the year. Arsenal are in decline. The greatest probably Spurs team in the last 40 years under Poch. They got beaten by Arsenal a number of times when Arsenal weren't very good, and Mourinho lost at Arsenal. So I just think the thing where I'm gonna be honest, Gareth. You're one of the few kind of reasonable Spurs fans that I know, and I actually talk to reasonably. I am extremely confused as to why Spurs fans are being more cocky than they are than when they were under Conte, when they were under Mourinho or Poch. I have never heard this type of. Arsenal are probably, I would say, easily the second best team in the Premier League right now. Like for me, it's Man City, then it's Arsenal. I don't see another team close to Man City or Arsenal. People might say Liverpool. I'm sorry, I know they have one, but I have not been convinced by Liverpool again. Like I'm quite negative on Liverpool, you know this, but I just don't understand. You've lost probably your best player ever in the Premier League era. I mean, I think I think he is your best player ever, a guy who scored a lot of goals, and a guy who never wanted the Emirates with your best team in terms of in the league. You've lost him, and now suddenly, because of a coach who has nowhere near the credentials of Mourinho or Conte, not even of Poch, even you can argue, suddenly now you have a chance to beat us when we have a much better team than before. When you had yeah, so I explain that to me, Gary. Explain this optimism that you guys
Look,
have.
I can't speak for every Spurs fan out there, but I think I can only speak on what I've seen so far, and I think that a lot of Spurs fans have been surprised by the start of the season. I think a lot of Spurs fans thought it was going to take time. It was going to, there's going to be a lot of bumps, maybe even in them early games, because I know a lot of people will point to them games were all winnable for Spurs, but we've seen Chelsea. Look at their fixtures at the start of the season; they haven't won. So it's as well as Spurs should be winning them games. That you still have to go and win them, and they have won them quite convincingly, bar the
Mhm.
Sheffield game. But kind of like used with Man United, we did dominate that game, and we just couldn't put the ball in the net, and we got 2 goals at the end. We completely battered them. So maybe it is down to that sort of, they've been caught out, surprised. They probably thought that Postecoglou, as you rightly says, hasn't got the credentials to be a Premier League manager at this level. But he's come on. It's been a breath of fresh air. The media seem to love him. The fans, I mean, last week the fans at the game love him. So I think it's just positive vibes, and maybe some Spurs fans are getting carried away. And this,
No,
like, we're going to see on Sunday, they where Spurs
it's
are at. But
I warn you. I read today Ange's press conference for this podcast because I was intrigued. The last team that has come to the Emirates and played full on attacking football was on Wednesday, and you
yeah,
saw what happened to them. It could have been 5-6-0 in the first half. Even Man City last season when they beat us 3-1, Pep Guardiola, I had never seen this in a game like that. Pep Guardiola said we're going to give Arsenal the ball and we're going to play long ball counter-attacking football. They had 35% possession and it worked.
remember that?
They
Yeah.
3-1 on the counterattack. So even Man City didn't try and outplay us at the Emirates. So for now, Ange to say, I mean, again, I think
Did you hear what Ange says? He says that he is more interested in the performance than the result. I don't know if you seen that.
again, that if I was a Spurs fan, I would be annoyed at that. That's loser mentality. That's like saying, you know what? Yeah, okay, we'll lose 3-1, but if we play well, which I don't know, you lost, but okay, if we play, that's what I mean about your club, which is I think the good attacking football kind of it misguides Spurs fans to think that, oh, because we're playing good attacking football now, we have a bigger chance of beating Arsenal. No, you don't. Go back to the Redknapp era, where, in my opinion, he had a much better team than you have now. He had Modric, he had Bale, he had Van der Vaart. They got their butts handed to them. They lost 5-2, I think, 2 years in a row playing that type of football. So and
We have a comment. We have a comment on screen from Liverpool fan Dean. Big Ange bringing the attack and football to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium reminds me of Klopp. Spurs to 1-2-1. Oh, that's a bold prediction. Do you know what? Do you know what, Stefan? I think you've made some great points. But when I don't think it's a lack of mentality from Ange. I think he's looking at it as a long-term project. He with the likes of Conte and Mourinho were doing when they played the big teams, even when they were playing lesser teams, they were very much interested in the 3 points on the day with no real vision, the long term. If you look at what Arteta's doing, Arteta's put a long term project in place. Even when they've lost games, there's been a style of play that he's adopted. I think Ange is pretty much saying that if we go there and compete but lose the game, we'll take a lot of positives out of that, as opposed to going there, playing low block like United and maybe nicking a draw. I think he's looking at the big picture, but I understand from a fan's point of view.
Yeah, no, Gareth, I completely agree with you. But the problem I have is that if you go into the Spurs forums, like let's say, because I'm part of this WhatsApp group where it's a mix of Arsenal and Spurs fans, and you ask them to do a combined 11, a lot of Spurs fans
We're going to do that. We're going to do that later.
Yeah, if a lot of Spurs fans are saying Romero is better than Saliba, Bissouma is better than Rice or Partey. Okay, if you have such good players, why are you saying this is a free pass then? This is what annoys me, which is they have excuses. If Arsenal, which I think is, if you look at just from a pure historical and from a stat standpoint, you have beaten Arsenal at the Emirates since it was built once in 2010, and that was a last minute, I think, from what I remember, Yunus Kabul goal in the last minute. You beat us 3-2. That's 2010.
I think that was a bit of a fluke result.
Yeah, it was, because I remember Arsenal had so many chances that game to beat you guys, but forget that. But you have won once, and I think since 2006, since the building of the Emirates, I need to check this, so I'm not sure. I think you have lost the most amount of games at the Emirates Stadium. You have lost more games at the Emirates than you have lost at Anfield or at Man United. So
no, it's a real tough place for Spurs to go.
Yeah,
Callum's saying here that he thinks only Madison would get on the Arsenal's team.
Odegaard is better than Madison. I'm not having that. Like, I can't believe people are. For my opinion, I mean Spurs, but you can argue.
We're going to do it later, but I think Callum's maybe hinting at maybe playing Rice, Odegaard, and Madison. I don't think he's picking Madison over Odegaard. Okay. I think maybe that's the way he's looking at it.
But if you ask my combined 11, I'm not going to say it. My combined 11.
It is going to come up. We will debate some of these talking points. Look, we're going to move on. We're going to come back to the game, look at the tactics, look at teams, but just purely, this be something that we might agree on. Is this the best derby in England? I heard Gary Neville say that today that this is the game he looks forward to as a neutral commentator. Obviously he looks forward to Man United games, playing Liverpool, playing Man City, but as a neutral, he says this is his favourite game to commentate on since he started working for Sky. So, Stefan, obviously we're biased, but for me, this derby does feel different to a lot of our derbies in England.
Yeah. No, in terms of, for me, it is the best. The only one that I can think of that used to be, I would say, as close as to this derby was when I first started watching Arsenal. I remember the old Arsenal Man United games. They were insane. They were amazing. It was like two kind of heavyweight champions just fighting it out. It was always super tight
I
and
think
super edgy.
in fairness now, that's more of a rivalry because two teams like you've had United Liverpool, you've probably had Man City Liverpool, you could have Man
Yeah,
City Arsenal now being a new rivalry. So in terms of derbies, we're looking at Arsenal Spurs, Man City, Man
definitely.
United, Liverpool, Everton. And a lot of people would say Spurs Chelsea's got big, but for me it's Spurs Arsenal. That is the big one.
I think if you look at some of the London, I think Arsenal and Spurs is the one where there's the most amount of emotion. There's the most
Yeah.
amount of, I would say, even just pure hate, and that's what I like about it.
I know it's
Like
crazy,
both
isn't it? They
both
absolutely can't
teams
stand each other.
both teams hate each other. Whilst if you look at Spurs and Chelsea, and even Spurs and West Ham, I get the vibe that they just hate you guys. Chelsea hates you guys. West Ham hates you. Like West Ham don't have the same type of, I would say, distaste for Arsenal. Even Chelsea don't have the same. Like Chelsea really hates you guys. I've never understood why, but every time Chelsea play against you, especially if it's at Stamford Bridge, they're always up for it. No matter how bad their season is going. But I just think Arsenal and Spurs, it's just every fan. I think I would say it's the first game that I check when the fixtures come out, and every fan wants to win, and every fan is he I mean, there was a point where I think both of our clubs weren't very good, and every single fan's kind of like talking point was who finished a- ahead of who i- in the league table. So I think
Maybe
this
this season
derby
it's going to
has,
be who finishes first, is it?
I mean, I don't know about that, but let's see. But it is a derby that has passion. It's like I remember in Scotland when I was studying, I went to a Celtic Rangers derby, and even though the Scottish League has gone down in terms of levels, the atmosphere was just insane. Like both fans were like, just it was an incredible atmosphere. So for me, this derby has really is going to be, and the Emirates Stadium always in these derbies is completely rocking.
Well, I was
Everybody's
going to be my next question. What kind of atmosphere do you think it's going to be like on Sunday? Especially with as you said, a lot of Spurs fans are getting maybe carried away, talking a good game. Solon's come out and says Arsenal do not want to be playing Spurs at the
just
moment. So what kind of atmosphere do you think
Garrett.
we're going to see on Sunday?
Gareth, I because I watch a lot of American sports. I told this to my American friends. If I'm the coach, every single coach, especially when it comes to American football, they wait for these type of comments. And what they do is they put the comments in the gym, in the changing room as just bulletin board material to motivate the players. And not only Son, Ange said today that he's gonna play football that's gonna scare the life out of Arsenal. Which if I'm an Arsenal player, I'm like, dude, who do you think you finished eighth last year? Like, who do you think you're coming to the Emirates and thinking you can outplay us? Like, relax. So I think everybody's gonna be up for it. I think Arsenal fans are, including myself, are a little bit annoyed and think you really need a big time reality check. Really big time.
Going to
You
be
really
interesting.
do.
Look, we've spoke about the away record that Spurs have, but in the last sort of 13 years, there's only been 3 away League Ones in this fixture. So
Yeah,
it's tend to be a very dominant home
it
game
is.
or
Yeah.
a draw, maybe an away team getting a draw.
Mhm.
Arsenal probably have more draws than Spurs have had, going away. But
Yeah.
why do you think that is? We see a lot of derby. We've seen the Manchester derby, for example. We've seen United go to Man City when Man City have been flying, and
Mhm.
United have got a win. We've seen Man City come to Old Trafford and won quite a number of times. Why do you think this game there seems to be it seems to really favour the home team in the last, as you say, 13 years?
Honestly, Garrett, I just think specifically when it comes to these type of games, for me, the true test of metal of a team is away games. In terms of, if you want to see if a team is just good or great, it's how they do, especially in the big away games. And I just don't think Spurs or Arsenal, especially in the last 13 years, have had the right type of mentality, especially of champions. So that's why I think, usually when Arsenal went to Spurs, especially under the later Wenger years, let's be honest, we were quite soft, and I would say that tag, the Spursy tag, is also similar. So for
Mm.
me, it's based on both teams and just
I
how they
kind
were
of think
doing.
over the last 13 years, possibly up until last year, the two teams had there wasn't much on it at all. We've seen towards the end of the Wenger years, they were always kind of scripting for fourth. Spurs were fourth, fifth. Then after after Emery, and then you had Arteta's early years. Again, it was
Mhm.
both very much two teams competing for fourth. I don't think there was a lot between the teams. I think last season we've seen a huge jump. Arsenal being the much better team, and it showed in the two games. Spurs were well beaten over the two games. Martin saying here, Liverpool fan. Sorry, lads. Remember when you said Newcastle had a better
Oh
team,
my God,
Liverpool, and would smash them? Arsenal will win on Sunday.
Martin.
So
Okay,
that's 1-1.
Martin.
I think that's one Spurs prediction and one Arsenal.
I
Do you want
mean,
to
let
have a chat with Martin there? Martin's not happy about them
no,
Newcastle
no,
coming.
because Martin will talk about the Newcastle game. Martin, if you're honest with yourself, Newcastle should have won that game easily by 2 or 3. Now, if it wasn't for that ridiculous Allison save in the first half, which would have made it 2-0, and you would have been you would have been with 10 men going behind 2-0, you would not have won that game. So yes, I mean Liverpool are doing well, but I'm sorry, Martin. I'm still skeptical. I don't think your defense is. I mean, on Thursday, did you see them against Lask in the first half? They were awful, and I think Liverpool have too many of those moments in every single game.
Couldn't beat us with 10 men. Spurs actually play Liverpool next week. That's going to be another good test for
That's
both teams.
where's the game, Gareth?
Spurs.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's gonna be a good
So I'm
because
hoping. I'm
Anfield
hoping.
they always beat you there. Let's be honest,
Uh,
they always beat you at
I'm
Anfield.
actually hoping for 4 points in these next 2 weeks. I think that might be pretty optimistic, but if we could get 4 points, I'll be very happy. Look, you mentioned that earlier on. You says about free hit. A lot of a lot of Spurs fans are talking.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be a free hit because they're speaking up. They're talking up Spurs quite a lot. I don't
no,
buy
it's
into this
it's
free. I don't buy into this free hit because it's a
no.
North London derby. You have to go there and perform.
No, it's first of all, don't talk about how Basuma is so good and Romero is so good and Vicario is the best keeper in the league after 5 games, like I get in the chat. And then don't give me it's a free hit. What are you, Nottingham Forest? Like I'm like in terms of how could it be a free hit if you have such good players that are better than Arsenal, who finished second in the league last year? So I just get annoyed because excuses FC Gareth is gonna come out after this. Because if we beat you, this is what's gonna come out. It's gonna be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, we were hopeful, but we didn't expect to win. I'm telling you, just read some of the comments after in terms of from the Spurs
I
journalists or
think I
whatever.
think though we have to be realistic. Maybe they might be saying one thing, but in my head, I am not going there on Sunday expecting to win that game. I think if we were to get a draw, it would be a fantastic result. You might say
Yeah,
that's maybe a soft mentality, but that's being realistic. Arsenal
yeah,
finished
exactly.
second last year. They're the money they've spent. They're a much stronger team, which we'll see in the combined 11. So I think if we were to go there and get a draw, but I think that what the Spurs fans want to see is like Spurs come away there and it's a deserved draw, not hanging on for dear life. And they fluke the draw. I think they want to see Spurs go at it, and that'll be interesting because you've said to me over the last few weeks, you think this new style of play will really suit Arsenal. So, you know, are you sort of happier that it is Ange and not a Conte or Mourinho
I'm
because they're going to
thrilled.
open?
I'm I'm thrilled because the Conte and Mourinho system, we struggled because low blocks naturally on the counterattack, teams like Man City and Arsenal, when they push up so high and play pretty much in your final third for most of the game, you are susceptible to a counterattack or to a corner, let's say, or a set piece. The problem with Ange's style is that, I'm sorry, Gareth, you gave away 16 shots to Burnley. If you give 16 shots to Arsenal, and there will be more because Arsenal will be. If you play like this, PSV, did you watch PSV try and play? They played with a high line against Arsenal, and Arsenal absolutely they scored 3 goals in 20 minutes. Jesus missed pretty much. It could have been 4-5-0 in 20 minutes, and
Mhm.
I don't think your defense is good enough to cope with. In terms of
Well,
to
one thing I
cope
would
with.
say about that is I think we're a better team than PSV. So I think we will be able to adjust that a bit better. But just before Martin goes here, he's asking me
Yeah.
where we think Spurs will finish this season, above United or Brighton? Question mark.
No.
Stefan, where do you think that Spurs will be looking at?
Uh, I bet 50 quid with a Spurs fan. I think that was stupid that you guys would finish outside of the top 10 at the start of the season.
You're
So
listening to too much Paul Merson.
I'm probably gonna lose. I bet also with him that Chelsea would finish outside. So I might get back the 50 quid. I'm pretty
I
sure
think I
Chelsea are
think
gonna
we'll
finish.
be in and around that fourth spot. I think we'll be there or thereabouts.
No, Gareth. No, I think maximum at best is sixth. I really think sixth is
Do you
your.
think there's five better teams than Spurs though?
Yeah, I think Arsenal are better. I think Man City are better. I think Brighton are better. I think Liverpool are better. Yeah, there.
I
I just
don't
named
think
the four
Brighton.
teams.
The problem with Brighton is they're going to be playing European football, and that's going to be difficult to juggle. You've seen them lose on Thursday. No, that's going to be difficult, and I think
Mm.
squad as well. I'm not sure they have the squad to sustain both.
I agree because I'm looking at Newcastle now, and to go from Bruno Guimaraes to then go to Sean Longstaff, or to go from Sven Botman to Jamal Lascelles, the depth in terms of the differential in quality is massive. So
I
I
think if
think
we keep playing the way we will, we'll be in and around fourth.
However, the key issue might be, let's say Newcastle do bad in the Champions League. They have a really tough group. There's a chance they might finish fourth. If they completely drop out and then they can focus on the league, that can be. And I think they're a better team than you guys. If they can purely focus on
I
the
think
league,
I think that'll depend on how far they're behind though. If we can get maybe 10 points clear of them, that's going to be a big gap to
I
try and
just
bring the ball back.
I just think these next two games are
Mm.
going to be, because I don't I also think Liverpool are a very flawed team in terms of their two attacking. They get exposed to. So I'm really looking forward also to next week's game when you guys against Liverpool, to see like how good in terms of. But I just think I honestly, best scenario, I really think sixth. I think realistic, I think you're going to be seventh or eighth.
Right, there you go,
In my
Martin. He thinks maybe top 8. I think fourth's definitely a possibility. Now, look, we were chatting about the Spurs style there,
Mhm.
and do you know what I've heard this week from Arsenal fans is this style is going to suit Spurs, or sorry, it's going to suit Arsenal. Spurs
Yeah.
opening up, but do you not think it's going to suit Spurs as well? Because we've seen last week against Sheffield that they really struggled to break down that low block. I mean, if Arsenal come at Spurs, then surely we're going to get opportunities to expose you as well. It works both
Well,
ways, doesn't it?
Gareth, I watched the Sheffield game. Sheffield, the problem with Ange's style, and you saw it in the preseason games, is that he is far too open with one or two passes. I remember the West Ham preseason friendly. They chipped the ball over the actual top, and you were done. And it was the
Yeah.
same with Sheffield. They had two or three passes, and they were in your area. Sheffield actually played quite well in that game, and they had a number of times where they had openings when they could have done better. I remember McKinney had a free header from a set piece. They had a
Like the
number of times
goalkeeper
where,
made a save in the first half.
yeah,
Vicario
yeah,
made a
and
good save.
what's his name? And Vicario made a really good save with his leg. It was a
Aye,
cross into
that was
the.
that was the other big chance in the first half they had.
But the thing is, Sheffield went there with a defensive outlook, and they still managed to get. I think I read. I don't know how many shots. I think 10 shots or 9 shots or something. I don't remember.
I
But
can only
for
really
me,
remember
that's
two or three big moments.
yeah. But for me, that's different. That's you're at home. The fact that you gave Burnley 16 shots, Gareth, you're gonna
Most
give
of
more
them were in the
shots.
first 15 minutes, but after
Ours,
that it was one-way traffic.
yeah, I agree. But in terms of you're still giving them shots, and that is an issue because if you give Trossard a shot from outside the box, two out of three times he's going to score lately because his finishing is being
How's he,
insane.
how's he going to score past the best goalkeeper in the league? Is there
Oh,
people?
sorry, yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry, yeah, we're gonna try. I mean, David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale aren't of the same level as Vicario, but we're Arsenal are gonna try and beat Spurs now. We'll
Before we
see.
come on to speak about Arsenal a bit more in depth, we've seen a massive process take place at Arsenal. Do you think that this is something that Spurs should look at? They tried to go down the route of getting like a 1-0 serial one run and kind of fumble their way
Mhm.
through it. We've
Yeah.
seen Arsenal, they even when times at the start when Arteta was under a bit of pressure and there was sticky moments, they stuck with
Mhm.
him. They continued to back him.
Yeah.
Obviously Spurs are not going to keep winning every week. They're going to have bumps. There are going to be times when maybe we could go 2 or 3 games without a one. So do you think this is something that Spurs should look at now and go, you know what, Arsenal? I know, and I'm not saying you should just back anyone, but there seems to be a genuine consensus from Daniel Levy, from a lot of Tottenham fans, that Ange, could be the man. So even when times get tough, do you think this is the way Spurs should go? They should stick with Ange now and look at what Arsenal have achieved over a 4 or 5 year period.
I do, but here's the problem, Gareth. Your chairman undercuts anything that you guys try and build. I mean, yesterday I read the big news. The guy who he worked with scouting players got sacked. Why? Why did
Well,
after
from
signing?
what I'm hearing is that has been organised because there is a new director of football coming in the
But
next few
why are
weeks.
you why are you changing a guy that seemingly looks like for the first time in years, maybe since Hitchin was there, has signed some pretty good players? He signed Udoji, who looks good. Yes,
Well,
Richarlison.
I think a lot of that was down to Paratici, and obviously with his ban in place
No,
now, he's got to move on. So
I completely disagree with that because if you look at Udoji comes from the Udinese system, which Gabbiadini, he comes from Watford, who are the owners of Watford, are the same owners of Udinese. He 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 comes from that tree. So I'm pretty sure Gabbiadini was the main guy. I'm sure Paratici negotiated, but Gabbiadini, I'm sure, told him, I know this guy, I've scouted him for Udinese. He should sign for Spurs. Richarlison, you can maybe argue that they fired him because of the Richarlison signing, because that was a lot of money. But why, when he just started a process, Ange even said that he was happy working with him, you sack that structure that was already there? That means you got to start from zero again and just reboot it. The other thing is I would love to say Ange can be the guy for you guys, but let's be honest. If you look at his coaching tenure, his average coaching tenure is about 2 to 3 years at every club he's been. In my opinion, he could be a bridge where he stabilizes your club, kind of like a Harry Redknapp, where he's not about this big time, like super demanding type coach. Harry Redknapp was famous for his man management. He came in after a super demanding coach in Juan de Ramos, who had destroyed the confidence of the players. And he just lifted in the same way. Harry Redknapp was super charismatic in press conferences, just looked like a nice guy, just like Ange's. And I think he could lift you guys towards a transition, maybe towards a coach that maybe in 2 or 3 years can take you to another level. But I don't think, if you look at precedents, and if you look at Ange, I don't think he's the type of coach that is like a Jurgen Klopp or a Pep Guardiola, where he stays for at least 5 to 6 years and builds a culture. Which this is what we always talk about. The biggest thing that Arteta did was that he took off the declining culture that was at Arsenal, that had been fostered under the latter years of Wenger and then Emery and then everything that happened. He removed all the bad eggs from the dressing room, started afresh, and created a recruitment process where he only picked players with the right mentality, but also that fit the actual system. This is what you need. This takes a long time. It took Pep Guardiola, it took Klopp 3 or 4 years. It took Pep maybe a bit quicker, but he had better players, he had a better team. But with Spurs, if you look at final thing started going, if you look at Spurs' success, their best success was always signing players that were kind of unknown. You signed Luka Modric from Zagreb, from the Dinamo Zagreb, when not a lot of people knew about him. A lot of people knew about Gareth Bale, but they didn't think he would become as good. I mean, he came into Spurs as a left back and got
they have a
moved.
reputation. They have a reputation for buying young players and
Yeah,
developing them
that
into
was your
players
that
for our
yeah,
clubs.
that was your ethos back in the day, where you would sign a lot of, even I would argue maybe 10 years ago, you would sign a lot of good English young players from, let's say, smaller sides or championship side, like a Danny Rose. I mean, I know Tom Huddleston didn't come as good as he was, but he's still better than Oliver Skip, for example, in my opinion. Like, or players like that, where you would sign them and then develop them. And I think Levy kind of, and Spurs fans also, I would blame a little bit.
I think though there is a hunger. I know Levy has undercut on, but I think that now that the stadium's got bigger, the club has got bigger without winning anything, which is crazy. But they have got bigger. There's a
No, they have.
there's a model in place. So I think they have to, in the end, now move away from that and try to close the gap to the top. Now that's not going to be
Yeah.
easy, but when you say about Ange's resume and his history at our clubs, that can't go unnoticed. But I think he's made it quite clear that he's on his way. He's kind of used clubs to get there where he is now. Now, I'm not saying he could easily do the same at Spurs. If Klopp was to move on in a few years' time and he was to do really well at Spurs. He's already said he's a Liverpool fan. So what's they say if Liverpool came in, he wouldn't go there. But I kind of think where he's at now, there's only maybe a handful of clubs where he could possibly go to that's going to be better than where he's at now. So it's one of them ones. We've seen that with Pochettino. Even when he was going well at Spurs, he kind of rebuffed or he didn't go to Man United when the time when they came. There was obviously links with our clubs. So do you think maybe that Ange as well could look at this as now he's at a top club, he's in the Premier League, a team that should be competing to finish in the Champions League places, and if he can improve on that, they can maybe start to push up back to where they were under Pochettino?
I mean, Gareth, I just think it's too early, man. Like, let's see how he does after, let's say, after 15, 20 games. I think that the signs are positive, but look, I'm gonna be biased here. I think he's gonna get found out. I think his style of football, if you watch him at Celtic, go and check his European record where he has to play teams of a similar level to Celtic or better. He has an awful European record. Why? Because he reminds me, maybe not of the same level, but he reminds me a little bit of Wenger at the end of his years, which was Wenger always played the same way, no matter what. He didn't care about the opposition. He focused on himself. And that press conference today by Ange saying that we're not scared, we're going to take the game to Arsenal, and then he realized what he said. That's why he backtracked and said, "No, let's be honest, he backtracked."
I kind of think when he says all this stuff at the minute, it's music to the Spurs fans' ears. He's kind of like, we're going to go there and attack, and they're going, "Come on, yes."
yeah. But notice this. Watch the press conference after he said that. A journalist asked him, like, you're going to the Emirates, like your record there. He backtracked, and then he said, "Yeah, we're going to take it to them, but the performance matters more than the result." Which to me,
do you think he could possibly even be very naive?
If you watch his Celtic games, I mean, for example, if you watch Shakhtar Donetsk against Celtic, which I think these are two similar level teams, if you were not even like a tactical coach, they had Mudryk, who is lightning, who is rapid. He played the right back pretty much the whole time, almost in the halfway line. So all Shakhtar did was just chip it over to Mudryk, and Mudryk killed them. I think they won 2-1.
I think as well, though, he does play the percentages. I mean, Celtic had enough chances they won that game, but in the end they got undone. And that's the thing. Spurs are going to have to take their chances in games because we have seen against Burnley, against Bournemouth in that early part of the second half when it was only 1-0, Bournemouth had chances. There is risks they play in this style of play. So but it's what the Spurs fans want to see, isn't it? So I don't know. It's one of them ones.
No, I get it. There's this like kind of culture around Spurs where no matter what, Spurs have to play good football, but that doesn't mean that you're actually playing well because Harry Redknapp. I remember Harry Redknapp's teams. You're a Spurs fan. You can correct me, but I remember Harry Redknapp's teams were super attacking. They would go at home. They would beat Stoke 6-1 or something. Then they would go to Anfield and lose 5-1. Right? It was so up and down. It was so up and so. This type of style, though it's going to be entertaining, it doesn't necessarily, I think, guarantee better results. Because when Conte was sacked, I didn't believe this. When Conte was sacked last year, you guys were fourth.
The football was unwatchable, but it was unwatchable.
I know it was unwatchable, but you were still fourth. You went from fourth to eighth.
Honestly, I would rather play this way and finish 10th. Because at least we're getting some. But look, we're going to move away from Spurs. We're going to move away from Spurs. We're going to look at Arsenal. As all the pressure on them, they're the home team. They're the team that are being expected. They, after finishing second last year, they pushed City all the way. Some people have mentioned Liverpool, but it's mainly City, Arsenal is everyone's kind of focus. And this is whatever way it's being dressed up. This is a Spurs team that have matched Arsenal for the first 5 games in terms of points. And they come on here on the midst of good form. So, as the pressure on?
I mean, it's the pressure on. It's
and sorry, I must just add there that you would expect Man City to beat Nottingham Forest at 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Sure. No,
they'd be kicking that game off 5 points behind, and they can't really afford to drop points. Because then it could be over in 2 weeks' time.
No, the pressure is definitely on based on the fact that we have to chase Man City. That's our goal. We're trying to challenge Man City. But I mean, if an Arsenal player thinks it's too much pressure to play in the North London derby, then he shouldn't play for Arsenal. This isn't pressure. You should embrace this. I would embrace this. If I hear Spurs' coach and son telling me that we should be scared of them, oh, not only him, I read Madison also that we shouldn't we shouldn't want to play against them now. I would be absolutely just
It's like Mystique.
put
Hey,
me
it's
on
like
the
we're like Mystique at the minute. You should be scared of us.
yeah, like it's like guys, relax. Like you should be scared of us because you rarely win. You rarely win at the Emirates. Rarely, I think, is an an understatement because if you look at the fixture, it's an awful record, and then not only that, you've gotten beaten pretty badly at the Emirates a number of times. So like relax, play a good game, say that, just compare the press conferences of Arteta to Ange. Arteta said Arteta's not stupid. Spurs is a very good team. He said everything very PC, knowing that he doesn't want to, motivate the Spurs fans a little bit extra. He says they're a really good team. This is the actual derby. This is it. But if this should be pressure that Arsenal players want to play in. And I am 100% certain that every single Arsenal player, Declan Rice, all of the Arsenal boys, the Bukayo Sakas, the Eddie, if Eddie Nketiah plays, if Emil Smith Rowe comes on and plays, they will know what it means to play in this derby. So they will all be up for it. So I don't think is the pressure all on Arsenal? I mean, yes, because we're considered a much better team at the moment. So we should beat you. So Arsenal should take this, and they should be insulted by what all the Spurs players and the coach said. They should, no. So we should make a statement. We should put you guys in your place, and I think that's what's going to happen on Sunday. I
I
do.
mean, it's going to be. I mean, it's just bubbling up. I mean, the more we talk about it now, the more I'm thinking this is going to be pure fire. I mean, red card,
Yeah,
it could be anything. And especially if you've got people like Richarlison running around, he's just disaster in a game like this. He'll probably kick more people than he will kick the ball.
I would be
But,
yeah. I would be more worried about Romero in this game because you know me, I don't rate him. I think he's a bit of an
I
idiot.
think he's done quite well this season, but I seen he's only committed one foul in the 5 games. That's not
Let's
like him at
see.
all.
Let's see when he's losing against Arsenal. He's playing against Jesus because Jesus is going to
Mm.
torment him the whole game.
Brazil,
So
Argentina. That's going to be interesting. You can look at this two ways. Lots of positives about squad rotation. Also, as well, it could cause a wee bit of confusion, a wee bit of we've seen the whole Raya Ramsdale debate.
yeah,
Ramsdale maybe hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything as bad as Onana in terms of he hasn't dropped one under the net. But I
he
think a lot
has.
of I think a lot of no, not this season. I think a lot of Arsenal fans were saying that for how many shots that were coming against Arsenal, there was far too many going on. If that makes sense.
He's yeah, Gary. Sorry to interrupt. He's
No, go ahead.
conceded. I read a stat. He has conceded the most first time shots of any goalkeeper since the start of last season. I think there's
Mm.
7. So from the first shot that a team has, I think he's conceded 7 goals. And 2 of them have been this year, which is against Nottingham and against Fulham. Look, against Fulham, it's unlucky, but I'm going to tell you this as an Arsenal fan. The 2 games that I watched David Raya, I think it's over for Ramsdale. I think it's over. He's David Raya, everything, even though I think Ramsdale is a great goalkeeper with great potential. David Raya, I don't know if you think like this guy. I've always thought about this of goalies. There's either
Well,
goalies
you know what?
that
I'll be very honest. I think I really wanted Ryan in the summer, so that tells you everything.
he's against Everton. He like the other thing that I really like about him compared to Ramsdale, David Raya is completely dominant in the air. I think I read only Emi
Yeah.
Martinez slightly has more
I
air.
think that's the biggest difference between the two. That I've seen that he's much better in the air because
But only that.
Ramsey does pretty good with his feet. So there's not much in
No,
it.
Raya's better. But Raya's, if you watch
Raya's
it,
better, but I don't think it's a weakness of Ramsdale's with a ball
no,
at his
no,
feet.
it's not. It's not. It's not. But if you look at, but not only, I was gonna say that there are goalies that when you watch them, they create calm, and that breeds into the defense, the midfield. Other goalies, like for example, me as an Arsenal fan, we've had a long bad run of goalkeepers up until maybe Leno, Emi Martinez, those. But if you watch, let's say, I remember Szczesny when he played for Arsenal. Just pure chaos. Like every time he touched the ball, I was worried. And you could see that the defense were also worried. David Raya against Everton and against PSV was just, and Ramsdale, although he has moments where he creates calm, He doesn't exude the same type of authority in those two games compared to David Raya. Just completely, he's so cool on the ball. He make decisions and he takes. And the other thing I like about David Raya is if you notice him, his starting position compared to Ramsdale when we have the ball is much higher on the pitch. David Raya is much more kind of in the game.
Do you know what as well? I think Raya's a lot more modest. Sometimes Ramsdale can be a bit cocky and arrogant, and sometimes that can affect you. But look, Callum seems to think here that Arteta has to pick one of the other. Similar to you, and you think that decision's already been made. You think that Raya's going to be in now full time, and he also thinks that Ramsdale isn't good enough for 21. So
yeah, go on.
No, I think he means as in Raya could be the difference, and that could be
I agree.
Not to say that Ramsdale's a bit not a good goalkeeper, but do you kind of feel as well that, you know, come the summertime, Ramsdale will move on?
Yes, and I want minimum 50 to 60 million. If we don't sell him for 50, he is 25. He has the most experience for any goalkeeper under the age of 26, 27. He was in the PFA team of the year. He's British. I want 50 to 60 million. And when I'm looking at clubs, I'm probably expecting him to either go to Chelsea or to Bayern Munich.
Man United too.
No, come on. What is this like? Suddenly Onana is a bad keeper after 4 bad games? Come on,
he's not convincing. He's not convincing at all,
he's not convincing because the Man United's defense is a joke. Like, do you remember him last season for Inter?
That goal he conceded the other night's got nothing to do with the defense.
I agree. That was a bad mistake. But it's, you know, Man United are not a really, they're not a really good unit at the moment. So it's easy to kind of blame Onana. The thing is that he brings it onto himself when he keeps doing interviews about saying that he's going to respond and he's all about the team and stuff. Just shut up, man. Perform better than talk. Like, don't go do interviews and then have shambolic, like the Bayern Munich performance was really bad. Like, I agree with that was terrible. I don't know how that game finished 4-3. I really don't know how that game finished.
It was a very strange game, and you know what? I'm not convinced by Bayern Munich either. I don't see them winning the Champions League. I'm not convinced at all.
The Thomas Tuchel effect. He destroys every single attacking player in every team. Ever since he's gone there, Alphonso Davies has looked like Ben Davies from Spurs. I don't know how he does it. I really don't, but Alphonso Davies.
Callum's actually watching the podcast, and he actually agrees with. He always says about Tuchel, he's not a big fan.
He's a great cup manager, but if you look at every single team he's been to, maybe apart from Dortmund where he left them, I think after 2 years, if he stays more than a year and a half, the quality of the play completely depreciates. If you look at PSG,
he's an absolute mess as well behind him. It seems to be Mourinho and Conte, kind of like Mourinho and Conte, isn't it?
Yeah, he leaves. The thing with him is he leaves a mess. He always leaves in a bad way, which is he always has a fight. At Dortmund, he had a massive fight with the chief scout, Sven Mislintat, if you remember. Mislintat left, and then he had a massive fight with the CEO of Dortmund. At PSG, I think he didn't get along with, I think it was Neymar. And then in PSG, it's different there. At Chelsea, he really didn't get along with the new owners. Everybody knows this. So every single club he leaves it in a bad way. And trust me, against Bayern, he's gonna leave soon because some of the transfer kind of mistakes that they made.
He wasn't happy either. He wanted
and when he's not happy, you know him. He always complains to the media. He's kind of like Mourinho light in terms of he never leaves quietly.
I agree. He'll set the place on fire. So look, we sort of previewed the game. We're going to look at combined 11 next. But just before we do that, you've kind of said already at Spurs, you think it's sixth at best. I think that if Spurs can stay injury free, they're not in Europe. I think there's a massive opportunity to finish fourth. I think City and Arsenal will be clear. I think Liverpool are probably going to be third. I really do. I think they've got so much firepower that even if they can see goals, they'll score their way out of trouble. And I think that from that fourth place is wide open. I don't think Newcastle are going to be as good just because I think a lot of the teams around them got better. I do expect Chelsea to improve, but the problem they might have is that they could be so far behind. So I think this is an opportunity for Spurs this season to finish fourth. Do you think there's any chance they could?
Only if the other teams are really awful, Gareth. Only if, because last year we did the same with Man United. They started really poorly. They always do this, man, and they recover and they finish in the top four, or they finish even third or second.
The only thing I'd
So
say about United at the moment is they look very light. Way
I
players
know,
haven't.
I know, but last year we said the same. They lost 4-0 to Brentford. They lost 2-0 at home against Brighton. Like they looked awful. Like everybody was saying Ten Hag was out of his depth, but they recovered.
Mm,
So I never count on Man United because they just, I don't know how they do it. They just find
mm.
they figure it out, I think. But maybe this season, maybe you're right. Maybe this season it could implode. The thing with me where I agree with you is could you maybe, but only, and I'm massive caveat here, only if Brighton and Newcastle, if Brighton go deep into the Europa League or Newcastle manage to qualify, either go into the Europa or qualify for the Champions League playoffs where they have to, it really will test their full squad, then maybe. But you guys also have to, the thing, I've told you this before, we've argued with this. The moment I want to see whether Postecoglou is a good coach is not in the good times. I want to see how he responds when you go through a bad run, because that for me is a sign of a good coach. Because when Arteta went through that bad run that I thought, like a lot of fans, should have been fired, the last 6 months of that terrible season that we finished eighth, we did really well. We had, I think, the third or fourth most points after that. So you could see there was progress. And he responded. There were no, like, look at Man United. Every time they have a bad run, there's leaks. All of the players that don't play start to leak, saying that the
Mm.
coaches, has favorites and stuff like this. Nothing of this was heard at Arsenal, which showed that they believed in the coach in a way. For me, that's a big
And,
sign.
and
Well,
that's another reason we're going to speak about United. I think that there's trouble ahead for United. I really do.
no,
But
yeah, but
um,
but but yeah, but going back to your question, I think what in terms of you guys should focus on the domestic cups.
well, we've
I know
already
the
been
league
knocked
is
out of one.
important, but you need to win a cup, Garrett. Like everybody, like even West Ham fans now can make fun of you. Like, come on,
Well, we've
like
already we've already lost one cup, so we can only really go for one more.
you have to go all out. And the reason why I'm worried that Ange is just gonna be another yes man for, like, in terms of he's always gonna do what Levy wants is, even, let's be honest, if Mourinho had made 9 changes and you had gone out of the League Cup, what would have happened? He would have gone absolutely eviscerated in the media by Spurs fans and by every. For some reason, Ange, maybe because
Well,
he's
there
new,
was, to be fair, there was criticism from Spurs fans.
but it
Maybe
was
not
it
as
was
much as it
mild.
was.
It was
Aye, but
mild.
I think that was down to how they were playing in the league. I think that cut them some slack. But look,
I
that's for another day. Arsenal, what can they achieve this season? Can they go one better? Can they beat Man City? Can they maybe, you're looking around Europe? I'm not convinced with Bayern Munich. I think Real Madrid
no
maybe are the
no
strength of the all Europe. No, of the all European teams. You're
yeah.
looking outside that City. You have to say Arsenal are a great chance in Europe. If they can handle both
Mhm.
competitions, I don't see many better out there. So, you know, can Arsenal win Premier League or Champions League, or maybe even won both? What do you think?
I'm not delusional. I'd love us to win the. I think I told you my expectations this year is, I think, minimum title challenge. I think we could win the league. I hope that Arteta has now learned his lesson from last season and is trying to peak the team at the latter stages of the season. I hope, because last season we peaked from August to December. So now I hope that we can go up a
I also
level.
think the World Cup break didn't help you.
Yeah,
That
yeah, of
that
course.
I think that
But
was possibly just one of them things that just fell at the wrong time for you.
yeah,
It could have happened to anyone, but it was just happened to Arsenal.
no, it just, and we have, our depth is ridiculous. Like it's. I mean, we have, I would say, the best goalkeeping depth in the world. I don't think another team has better goalkeeping depth. Like you have two number one who is on the bench was on the PFA team of the year, and is arguably, a lot of people say, should be England starter. In my opinion, he should easily be England starter. But and the other goalkeeper, just, I think he's going to prove his class playing in the perfect system for him and for Arsenal. So you have that. Then you have, if you look at, I mean, Thomas Partey, most teams, I would say, in European football, if he's out, would really suffer. Arsenal did when we didn't, but now we have Declan Rice and Jorginho. I don't think any other team in world football, including Man City, have that depth in midfield. The only place where I'm concerned about is slightly at right back, because Jurien Timber is out. If we had Timber, I would say we would probably win the league. I really think we will. I think we'll have a little extra motivation than Man City. I think Man City will struggle as the season goes on. I really do. I know they've started like a machine, but I don't think that's gonna last. And I just think
Oh, there's not a
I
lot of playing.
expect
I think that's more hope and expectation.
I
But
yeah, it's more hope. It's more, but I expect us to win the league this year and to get at least to the quarterfinals of the Champions
tell
League.
me this, right? If they were to finish second and maybe yeah, do all right in Champions League, maybe, but they don't want it. Maybe get to the semi-final. But
Yeah.
do you think that he has to win one of the domestic cups? They back that up. Do you think if they
No,
just finish second again, that
no.
maybe a lot of Arsenal fans would say, "Oh, maybe
It
he's
would
done
be. It
really
would.
good." Maybe no. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. But do you think maybe some Arsenal fans would say, "Do you know
Oh,
what? He has done us. He has done really, really well for us. But now we might need someone extra to take us that extra but they won."
I mean,
No,
it's
I'm not
yeah.
trying to say. I'm not trying to say that's what I think. But I'm just trying to
Mhm.
be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
diplomatic here about it. So how would you assess that? If that was
Yeah,
to happen, if
no, no,
Arsenal were
but
to
Gareth,
finish second
yeah,
and not won anything.
that's the problem with the Arsenal fan base. I would say you guys have your toxic positivity merchants that like 4 games we're gonna destroy Arsenal. We're gonna win the league. We have the toxic negativity guys, which is after we were pretty much in no man's land for 3 years. Arteta has stabilized the club, has turned us into title challengers. Now suddenly all these fans are like saying, "Oh, we should win the league," or he should have won the league." So no, I think if we finish second and we get to, let's say, the quarterfinals or the semifinals of the Champions League, I won't be like over the moon because I want us to win a cup. But I think Arsenal, if you read, there was a really good piece. I don't know if you read it. The Athletic, the Arsenal
Yeah.
journalist wrote that Arsenal's whole vision and plan is long term. They know, everybody knows that Pep Guardiola is leaving in a year or two. He's gonna leave. Everybody knows this. Like this is his last contract with Man City. So Arsenal know that all of our best players, they're all gonna peak in that period.
Mm.
So whether we win now or whether we win in a year or two, I know the actual cronkies in terms of, I watch American sports. I know how they work. They're extremely patient. If they feel the coach is the right guy and they're going in the right direction, they're gonna back him to the very end. So Arteta is gonna stay. Would I be happy? Yes, I want Arteta to stay. I want us to play Champions League and challenge for titles again. I haven't had this in almost 10 years. And now Arsenal fans are going to say, "Oh, but we should challenge. We should have won the league." I think it's short-termism and it's just spoiled. I'm going
I
to be honest.
agree. I think he is there for the long haul. I do think they believe in him. Callum, Liverpool fan, saying he thinks Arsenal is the only team that can stop Man City winning the Champions League. That's so. I think that kind of tells you that a lot of they are viewed at the moment as probably the two best. Obviously Real Madrid have got that the Real Madrid factor, and they've got a great relationship with Champions League, but they have signed a lot of young players as well. So that might take time. Bayern Munich as well. I think the whole Harry Kane
No,
thing has
Tuchel,
just
man, Tuchel.
I
No.
I think no, but I think the whole Harry Kane thing has just sort of made them better than what they are. I think defensively they're not great. The
No,
midfield's not great.
Gareth.
I don't see it with Bayern Munich. I really don't.
No, but Gareth, I watched Bayern Munich and I was shocked how Tuchel, Harry Kane left Spurs because every Spurs fan will tell you he does too much. Why is he dropping back? He's an elite finisher. Put him in the box. Why is he playing almost in defensive midfield? Because we don't have enough quality in midfield to pick up the ball and progress the play. He played Harry Kane. Harry Kane plays for Bayern Munich the same way that he plays for Spurs. I'm telling you, Tuchel is a graveyard for every single attacking player,
I
and I
honestly,
can't believe.
and you might think I'm delusional, but I was actually watching the Bayern Munich game the other night, and I was thinking, how many of these Spurs players are on the Bayern Munich team? I was thinking, I was
Oh,
rhyming off. I was thinking, Basuma will get on, Madison will get on,
stop it,
Romero
Gary.
will get on.
Stop it.
Do you know what? It's that time.
Tell me one player. Wait, Gary, I'm intrigued. Tell me one player from Spurs that gets into the Bayern Munich team.
Basuma.
Oh my God, he's better than Kimmich. How is he better than Kimmich?
He's better than Goretzka.
That okay. I'll let you have that one.
Madison. I'd have Madison on too.
Madison over Musiala. Gareth, you're nuts.
No,
I'm sorry.
I would play Basuma, Madison, and Musiala.
Over Gnabry and Sane on the
Well,
wings.
Canabria was hauled off. He was poor. Sani was good. Look, we're going to come on to it. Combined 11 time. Do you know what we're going to do? Because we're conscious of time here.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do to you, Stefan, is you're going to be the main challenger here because it's going to be majority Arsenal players. I'm going to call out the players that I think Arsenal are guaranteed okay, and then we're going to debate the ones that
Okay,
maybe I'm going to challenge on. So,
let's go.
goalkeeper David Raya, yeah.
Yeah, that one's easy. Let's go.
Centre back Saliba. Midfield Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard.
Yeah, yeah,
Right wing Saka.
yeah.
Right,
And
for me
then
they are unchallengeable. Right, the rest are up for debate. I do think.
okay.
Right back Ben White or Pedro Porro. What do you think now? Based on the opening 5 games of the season, do
No,
you think that this is an area that Spurs could have the better player?
Gareth, how is even Pedro Porro close to Ben White? Ben White was one of the best right backs last year.
I do
Easily.
think that Ben White gets in, but I do think come next year this could be because I think Porro's had a very strong start to the season. He looks
He
a completely
has
different player.
Gareth, but he can't defend, Gareth. He's poor defense. He's like
I think
Trent Alexander-Arnold.
he's got better, but
I
I'm happy to go with Ben White, but I do think
look, you know what?
this could be
Gareth,
closer.
I want to see him against Trossard because Trossard is really tricky.
We'll
I
see.
want to see him. If he deals with Trossard, I'll say okay. But I don't think he will because I think his positioning. If you watch the Bournemouth and the Burnley games, most of their attacks, including the goal for Burnley, were on his side. He was always out of position, always. In terms of especially when it comes
I think he's better going forward than White though. He's created a lot of goals this season so far.
No, he's good going forward because he was a wing back at Sporting. He was never a right back. So, but Ben White is just, I think one of the most underrated players in the Premier League is Ben White. Like,
you see some of these challenges that I'm putting on. I am just saying what a lot of people. I'm just looking at these combined 11.
But
not to say that I think them. So don't be jumping too hastily. Now.
No,
I'm just kind of saying.
I'm sorry, Gary. I'm just emotional. Like we're just debating. No, because I also read it from the Spurs fans in the group chat. Like, I'm like, why is the? I'm telling you right now. If Ben White didn't look like a guy from Geordie Shore, if he was like if you looked like Steve Bruce, for example, Ben White would be called one of the best defenders in the league. I'm telling you right now. That is the main reason why people hate on him.
I don't know if you've seen Darren Bent's combined 11. He had all Arsenal players.
It was it was all Arsenal players.
I also seen Sam Allardyce and Tom Sherwood's, and 4 Spurs players got on, and one of the Spurs players on the team was Destiny Udogie. Now, he has been very impressive at the start of the season. Zinchenko is a very, very good technical player, but just as you said about Pedro Porro, he can struggle defensively. So do you think, again, it's very early in the season, but Udogie's got the potential to be maybe a better fullback than Zinchenko?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not like Zinchenko last year and this year. If you watch the Everton game, he was sensational. Zinchenko is not a fullback. When people say he's, if you're talking about a traditional fullback, yes, Udogie is better than him. But if you're talking about the way he plays for Arsenal and the way he played, I would say last season in the first 6 months while we were top, Callum, I don't know how you do it, man. I want to pull out my hair sometime. I really don't know how you do it, but Zinchenko has done it for at least 2 or 3 seasons, playing for, I would say, the 2 best teams in the league now for the last 3 years, regularly playing. So, Zinchenko.
I agree. I think Zinchenko technically is very, very good, but is he a better
defensively?
He's
not bad. Here's the thing, Gareth. I think one of the kind of, I would say, the most overstated shouts is Zinchenko is terrible. No, he's not. He's okay.
I wouldn't say he's terrible.
Okay. He's okay. He's nowhere near as bad as Trent.
It'll be interesting to see Udogie against Saka, because if he keeps him quiet, then he's got potential.
No, he's not. We both know he's gonna be welcome to the Premier League. That's gonna, like how in the NFL there's like a joke where the first year player, the rookies they're called, when they play a big time team and they get completely like dominated. That's your welcome to the, or you were probably the best in college or in university, and you came to the NFL and you couldn't do anything. That's your welcome to the NFL moment. Udogie is going to have a welcome.
So
a welcome
for
to
you,
the Premier League
it's Zinchenko, and for me, I am picking Destiny Udogie. I'm sorry.
Of course you are. You're a Spurs fan. Of course you are.
We're going to move on to the final centre back now. Romero or Gabriel. Now, Gabriel was left out initially at the start of the season. He's now come back in.
and he's
Romero is
been
Spurs' main defender. Spurs
yeah.
fans love him. Can be quite rash at times, but as I said, this season he's only made one foul in 5 games. So there is merit there that he maybe is learning. We're going to find out a bit more in these next 2 games because he's going to be playing against better players. But for me, Messi has also said that Romero he thinks is one of the best in the world, if not the best. So that's from the greatest player in the world saying that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's definitely potential in Romero to be a top defender. So would you have Romero if he wasn't a Spurs player? Would you have him over Gabriel?
No, he's not. I told you this before. He doesn't have football IQ. He's a moron. He just tackles for the sake of tackling. I've told you this. Van Dijk said it, and Maldini have said it beautifully. The best defenders don't need to tackle. The reason why they tackle is because their positioning was wrong. If you watch the best defenders in the world, they rarely slide in like this guy. This guy is a liability. The moment things go wrong, he starts to
Do you
tackle.
not think the same of Gabriel at times, though? It can be quite rash. Did he not give away?
No,
He gave away a
that's
penalty last year, didn't he, against Spurs?
that's another myth. If you read the amount of errors that Gabriel did, everybody rates Saliba, but Saliba made more errors leading to goals than Gabriel last year. You can check the actual stats. Romero made easily the most errors. If you watch the Romero games from last season, I can tell you at least 5 or 6 games where he made errors that he was involved in that cost you goals. For me, it's not even close. Gabriel, ever since he's come in, has been more, I would say, if you look at the stats, pure stats, because Saliba looks better on the ball. That's why Saliba's just he just looks like just an amazing defender. But Gabriel, for me, because of Saliba, is so underrated. Gabriel, especially when it comes to physical battles, like against Everton, he's sensational. He wins every header. He's an old school defender that I love. That is also he's not.
Do you know what? Do you know what I'm going to let them do? I'm going to let Callum decide, right? So
No,
Callum,
pick Romero.
I'm happy to give him Ben White. I think that is
Come
fair.
on, Ben White has been so good.
I want you to give me Udogie and Romero or Gabriel and Zinchenko because we can't decide here. So give me.
I'll give you because you have a shout here because Gabriel did not start. I'll give you Romero, but I'm not giving you Zinchenko. Arguably last season was the signing of the season and the player of the season in the first 4 months. He was sensational. So I don't know how you can even put him in the same level as Zinchenko after a guy had 4 good games against Brentford, Burnley, Bournemouth, and I forgot what was the other. Sheffield. Just tremendous.
He looks frightening, but he does.
Okay,
so
okay. Let's see.
And you know what? This is another thing. I can't understand why Conte had some of these players out on loan and Bissouma not playing and stuff. It was crazy. Sarr was out on loan. He had Udogie out on loan. Bissouma sitting on the bench over. Some of these decisions were crazy. But moving on to the midfield, I've says that Rice definitely gets on. And that Odegaard definitely gets on. Now, Thomas Partey is injured, so we're not going to look at injured. We're going to look at it. Not going to look at injured players. But again, I think this is debatable as well. Now, it depends for me which way you want to go. Do you want more style with Bissouma or do you want more flair with Maddison? So for me,
if we're playing Odegaard and Rice, I think we should go for Bissouma because if it's Maddison,
I agree.
But if you ask me, the undisputed midfield winner here is Thomas Partey over that. You know how I feel about Thomas Partey. For me, he's better than Declan
I'm having
Rice.
Bissouma. I'm telling you, I'm having Bissouma.
I don't get this hype now about Bissouma. He's had 4 good. He had a terrible season last year.
Well, he was fantastic at Brighton.
And now he's better.
Arsenal fans wanted him. Well, Arsenal fans wanted him when he's at Brighton, didn't they?
Yeah, we wanted him, but now we have Declan Rice and Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey is better than Bissouma. So is Declan Rice.
I think on Sunday, Bissouma is going to be our key player. If he plays well, we've got a snuff.
Yeah, he's gonna get dominated by Declan Rice. That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
We'll see.
This is exactly. You guys overhype your players. They come to the Emirates and suddenly, oh no, we didn't perform on the day or something like this. Bissouma is one example. He's been really good for you in the first 4 games. I wouldn't say I've watched the games. Okay. The thing with me about number 6s, especially where they play, is how they control the midfield tempo. Rodri is king of this. Partey is also amazing at this. Declan Rice has been sensational ever since. The way he controls the tempo, makes interceptions. If you watch Bissouma, he's great on the ball when he's running and
he can run past people like the
he can run. But the thing with him is that off the ball, there are holes in the midfield where Burnley run through you. With
But
Declan
I
Rice,
think I think that's the way Ange wants him to play. But he doesn't really have a sitting player. He sort of gets his whole midfield forward, doesn't he?
okay, I mean, if he wants the whole midfield, because Burnley and Bournemouth at times completely overflooded you, and they were running through you. In terms of if you watch teams with Thomas Partey or Declan Rice or with Rodri,
Mm,
that never happens,
mm,
especially with Partey and with Rodri. So I think Basuma is a better number 8 than he's a 6. I don't think positionally wise off the ball he's that good. I really don't. I think on the ball he's very good, but to put him ahead of Thomas Partey for me is just is. I know he's injured, so we're not gonna. But it's
mm.
easy for me. It's
Yeah,
Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, and Martin Odegaard.
yeah. And
If
moving
if
on to the
yeah
front three, we're going to look Saka from he's nailed on.
yeah,
And I do
I mean
think at least one more Arsenal attacker's nailed on. I'm just not sure where
Jesus.
I'm going to fit Jesus, or I'm looking at Trossard possibly. Martinelli's injured, but I
Mhm.
even think I
Ah, it's
think
not
Trossard.
sure. It's not sure.
I think Trossard could actually be even more effective because he's a devastating finisher,
He
really
is.
underrated. And you look at that goal against PSV, what a finish first
He
time.
rem- he
He
remind
looks to be playing with so much confidence, doesn't he?
No, he reminds me. He is the most Wenger-esque player in our team. Trossard would completely play for the old kind of like
Mm,
he reminds me so much of a Chleb or a Rosicki or a Samir Nasri, where they were super technical, really good on the ball. And the other thing I love about him is he reminds me of Santi
mm,
Cazorla. He's so two-footed. His finishing with both feet is exceptional.
mm.
His shooting.
So
So
you know what? You know what? I'm going to actually pick now one more Arsenal attacker that you want done
who? Jesus?
out of Jesus or Trossard.
I'm gonna go for Jesus, man. Jesus is another
So for
underrated
me,
player.
the other position comes down to Trossard or Son. So what do you think in regards to them two? Son maybe is coming past his best, but on his day is absolutely devastating. He scored a lot of goals against Arsenal
Okay,
as well, so
but
it's a
Gareth,
tricky one.
here's the thing where I'm gonna call you out now. So you pick Udoji because his run of 4 games, he's been really good over Zinchenko. Let's be honest, Son now
No,
for over a year,
I agree. No, I agree.
has not been good.
I don't
Has
think Son's a shoe-in. I really don't. As
he's
I
had
said.
let's be honest, he's had one good game, which was against Burnley.
Mm,
He's had
yeah.
because against
No,
Sheffield he wasn't very
yeah,
good. He
I
wasn't.
agree. I agree. I think Arsenal's front three all get on. I do think Jesus and
You
Trossard.
could, yeah, but you could make an argument based on Son's quality over the years. However, if we're gonna put in Udoji, I think we should put in Trossard then over Son
Mm.
because Trossard is being sensational. If you read his goals and assists since he joined Arsenal, it's crazy. I think he has a goal and assist almost every game, Gareth,
Mm.
playing for
The
Arsenal.
winner of the Gabriel Romero vote was Gabriel. So Callum has picked Gabriel. So we're going to go with Raya, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Udogi,
Yeah,
Basuma, Rice, and Odegaard, Saka, Jesus, and Trossard. So that was 2 Spurs players, was it?
that's a bit
Mm.
lopsided,
I
but
think the
I
I think
mean,
the unlucky I think the unlucky one's Madison, but that's just because of how things are
I
playing
just
out.
I just think, in my opinion, Odegaard. The reason why I think Odegaard shades it is his off the ball. Nobody has won the ball more in the final third of the opposition than Martin Odegaard. His off the ball work is
Oh, look,
extremely
I
underrated.
think over a consistent period as well, the only player you can really put in over Odegaard and his
Is De
position is De
Bruyne.
Bruyne. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I agree
um,
with this. I agree.
so we've talked about it, previewed it, looked at teams. Time for predictions on this game before we look at the rest of the Premier League. Stefan, who's going to win and why on Sunday?
I think Arsenal are going to win. I think it's going to be a convincing win. I think Spurs are going to get a big time reality check. And I think the prediction will be I'm going to go 4-1 Arsenal.
Oh, you're following the Paul Merson. We're going to destroy. He actually says that he thinks Arsenal will destroy
No, he
Spurs.
said I read his quote. He said he put a caveat like me. If you come out and play like PSV did, which that's your style, you will lose badly. And I completely agree with him.
Interestingly, though, he did also say that Spurs wouldn't make the top 10. So maybe his predictions, or maybe we shouldn't be looking at them. But no, do you know what? A lot of people I have seen have tipped Arsenal, but quite high. I've seen a 4-3 by Jones Nose on Sky. I've seen Chris Sutton for BBC said 3-2 Arsenal. A lot of people seem to be thinking it's going to be a lot of goals in the game. Do you sort of see that as well? Do you think there's going to be quite a lot of goals?
No,
Well, you said
because
4-1. You think 5? That's a lot of goals, isn't it?
no, I think Arsenal. I think it's gonna be Arsenal are gonna score. I think the first 2-3 goals, and then I think we're gonna try and control the game. I think we rarely keep. If you look at our record in the last year and a half, I think PSV. I mean, what a coincidence that David Raya's first home game we keep a clean sheet. So I think it's gonna be it's gonna be really convincing. I think it won't be as close as people expect it to be. I do think Spurs will give it a go. I just think Arsenal are just we're if you play us at our game, I think the only team that can play us in our game and beat us, and they didn't even dare to do that at the Emirates last year, was Man City. If you try and play Arsenal at our game, I think it's not gonna end well. And I think look, 4-1 is a bit more hard, but my realistic score, I'm gonna change it, is 3-1. I think 3-1 is what's gonna happen.
James says good luck. Hopes Spurs beat Arsenal. Callum's saying 3-0 Arsenal. He thinks pretty much like you, it's going to be a pretty comfortable Arsenal one. I suppose I think it all comes down to I think the first goal is massive. I think Spurs have to get it if they're going to make a game of it. I think if they go 1-0 down, they'll be chasing the game, and it will leave gaps for Arsenal, and they will rely on Arsenal missing chances. Because
Again, Gareth. Again, no, because I disagree. Because look at history. You led 2-0 with Harry Redknapp, lost 5-2.
No, but what I mean is I don't see Spurs coming from behind. I think their only way of getting the result is if they score the first goal. I'm not saying that's what they're going. I don't see them coming from behind. I really don't.
I disagree. I think that it will give you more impetus. I think you'll play better if you're behind, because then you have nothing to lose. So you're gonna go for it. I really think you won't know how to deal with defending in an away game if you lead first. I think that the difference will be if Arsenal, because what I've noticed with Spurs is they give periods of time to every team that they have played. They gave 30 to 35 minutes to Man United where they could have scored 2 or 3 goals. They gave Bournemouth about 20 minutes, I think, a little bit at the end of the first half, and then the start of the second half, Bournemouth were all over you, I think, for the first 10, 15 minutes until your goal.
Yeah.
And they gave Burnley, I think, the first 20 to 25 minutes, I would say Burnley were playing better than you. If you give this to Arsenal, and Arsenal can, you saw against PSV, and you play this open and you give this space, Arsenal will score 2 or 3 goals. They will.
Look, as I said, I think a lot of ifs and buts on here, but that's the way football is. I think Spurs have to get through the first 10 or 15 minutes unscathed, then get a goal in front, and then I think it's a different game. I think it's going to be extremely entertaining.
Yeah, so
I really do.
I just wanted to add one thing that we forgot to add. The depth that Arsenal have on the bench is also key, Gareth. Even if it's 1-1, look at the players that Arsenal can bring on. We can bring on Eddie Nketiah, Smith Rowe. We can bring on like so many different types of players that can score goals. If Jesus is on the bench, imagine it's 1-1 and we have
I think they just will start.
I think he will. But even Reece Nelson, there hasn't been a better impact sub in the last like 6 months, in my opinion. Every time he comes on, he's electric. So even a tired Pedro Porro against Reece Nelson is going to be a massive issue for you guys. So
what about a tired Zinchenko against Brennan Johnson?
That's not a problem. If we're leading 2-0, we can put on Tomiyasu, who is, in my opinion, as a pure defender, our best defender.
We've talked about it a lot, but I do think we're going to be in the neutral. For me, are going to have an absolutely fantastic watch. Whatever the result is, I think it's going to be a great watch. And I wouldn't say I'm confident, but I'm going the Arsenal on Sunday into that game with a bit of optimism, which I haven't had for a few seasons. Not because I think we're a great side, but I just think that at least we're going to have a go. And if we do get beat, we get beat and we take our medicine. But I think we're going to make a game of it, and I do think we need things to go our way. But I'm going to stick my head out and I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-2 draw.
Okay, yeah, that's what that's why I actually like you, Gareth, because you're kind of okay. I'm gonna be confident, but I'm not gonna say we're gonna win at the Emirates.
No, but I think even at that, we'll need a lot to go our way as well. But football can come down to luck. You need a bit of luck, and that's what we're gonna need. But look, it's gonna be a fantastic game. 2:00 on Sunday. Make sure you get. If you're a football fan, you're gonna love it. And you know what? I can't believe the Premier League has scheduled all because the teams playing in Europe. There's 4 games kicking off at 2:00 on Sunday. So Liverpool fans can't watch it. Chelsea fans can't watch it. It's incredible.
Yeah, Aston Villa, Chelsea. I think Villa are going to beat them.
Liverpool, West
I
Ham. Do you know what? We're gonna come on to the predictions at the
Yeah,
end.
go on.
We're going to touch on United quite quickly. I mean,
Hmm.
there's talk of in crisis. 3 defeats in a row. Is this Burnley game a must win? If they lose this or draw or lose this, all of a sudden there's massive pressure on because a lot of people didn't expect them to beat Bayern Munich anyway. So in
It's
a
just
way,
yeah.
this is different. Burnley away, they've only got 1 point. They've lost their first 3 home games.
Mm.
So United are going there expecting they won. Well, their fans are anyway. If they weren't, they won. You know, what was it, leave Ten Hag?
Just the thing with this is that their away record is really poor. So they're a team that is famous for being quite soft once they go down. I think, especially at a place like Burnley, it's going to be quite difficult. But I don't know. I think if they really lose this game, I think Ten Hag is on the firing line. So
I mean, just
I
on this
really think,
quite quickly because we are running on a bit, but
yeah,
that's their running before the next international break. They've got Burnley away, Palace at home in the League Cup. Then they've got actually Palace home again that Saturday in the
pretty
league.
easy fixture.
Galatasaray at home in the Champions League, and Brentford at home. So there's a lot of home games on there.
Yeah,
So but as well as you're saying, it's a nice run of games. No game's easy when you're struggling, and this could be in a way really. If they don't win the majority of these games, where is the signs that things are going to change? Because I think after this they've got quite a difficult run of games. So this for me now is crunch time for Eric Ten Hag. He needs to get results. He
Gareth,
needs
I
to,
mean, it's extremely worrying when your best player in the last two games is Regulon. I mean, that for me is a sign of how things are going for United. I think it's the perfect run of games to kind of create a little bit of a safety net for Ten Hag just to win a few games and kind of breed some confidence, maybe get back some of the injured players like Varane or Mason Mount. But you never know with Man United, Gareth. Like they
mm,
could go to Burnley, and you remember the game before Ole got sacked, they lost 4-1
to Watford.
to
Mm,
Watford away. So their dressing room, their culture is a joke. They're super soft. You know this. So it's a divided dressing room, as you can see from the league. So yeah, Burnley could easily be a sort of
mm,
banana skin there. And if I'm the Burnley players, I'm super up for it because I know Man United they just look weak. They look tired. That's the thing that I've been the most concerned about. They look leggy.
mm.
Like they look shattered, and it's like the start of the season. So if I'm Burnley, I'm all up for it. The problem that I have is that Burnley play a style that suits Man United. They play super
Counter
that
attack.
like against you guys, and that openness, one ball over the top to Rashford. I just know what's gonna happen. Burnley are gonna play better than them. They're gonna have a lot of chances, not score them, and then one little crossfield ball to Rashford, and he's gonna score, and they're gonna win 1-0.
Mm.
That's my prediction.
You know what?
That's
We were talking off camera about massive fan bases in Ireland. We're talking
yeah,
about Spurs, Arsenal. We're talking about United now, and then somebody just puts in, "Come on, Liverpool!" And I think that's just you see. We were talking about Liverpool have a massive following here in Ireland.
yeah.
We're talking about all these different teams, and then a comment comes in, "Come on, Liverpool!" Um, we're going to talk about Liverpool before the show goes, James. So just hang tight. Now, look, last point on United, we've says there about these games, and I think you says about you think they've gone a bit soft. Do you think that sort of United mentality they had under Ferguson, although it's been lost over the years, do you think now they've just become so soft? Kind
It's
of. I hate to say this, being a Spurs fan, but Roy Keane said it after the Spurs United game. They've turned on the Spurs. Do you think they can't? Spurs had that. It doesn't matter who we played away from home for years.
yeah,
We always got beat. It's very hard to. Where are the leaders in the squad? Do you think that? I think you've said
they've
about legginess, but do you think as well that there's a split dressing room there? There's been leaks. There's been players sidelined. Are they all fighting on the same on the same page? Do you think?
no, it's a culture that's been developed ever since Ferguson left, where there is a huge amount of of player power, and you can see it. I mean, with Mourinho, it was Paul Pogba and all the actual drama around him. It was Anthony Martial, but they're still there. So I just think it's created a mentality in which it's kind of like I would compare it to Chelsea, but without the winning mentality or winning big titles. Chelsea
Mm,
would every time every 2 or 3 years they would completely down tools, have an awful season, get a new coach, and then there would be a bounce in which they would win the league or they would win the FA Cup or the Champions League. With Man United, it's quite similar in which I just think the culture is extremely toxic. I think that players there, especially the British ones that are there, think that they're better than they are. The players like Harry Maguire, like Scott McTominay, like everybody knows who those leaks are coming from. Like everybody knows. This is coming from the players that aren't playing. This is coming from the players that he has sidelined, players like Maguire, like McTominay.
I
Like
think he says there's a
it,
massive agent influence as well. Yeah, at United, he said it in his press conference today, didn't he? That there's agents
yeah,
being involved.
yeah, and
So
there's always in the media, especially there's always like a British bias in terms of, let's be honest, Eric Ten Hag was not the favorite for the British media. So I think this is just an easy way to pile on him. And the way he's treated Harry Maguire is another reason why I don't know why Harry Maguire is so protected, like in terms of protected in the media as much, like,
well,
because
we know why because he's you know what I mean. So I don't know. Look here, but before we move on to
yeah,
the rest of the weekend's games, Man United play Sheffield United away on the 21st of October after the next international break.
wow, that's
Will Eric Ten Hag be in charge for that game? What do you
yeah.
think?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
think so.
Man United are a bit like Arsenal. They take far longer than they should. If their manager is doing badly, they take
Mm.
another month or two to fire him. Like Arsenal should have fired Emery much earlier than they did. Man United are similar. They should have fired Mourinho, I think around Octoberish, but they fired him after they lost to Liverpool 3-1 in December. It was similar to Ole. Ole should have been fired immediately after the Liverpool loss. I think it was 5-0
I think he
at Old
lasted
Trafford.
another 4 games or something like that, didn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah, he still survived. So if you look at it, I think he will survive. I think if it goes really bad, I think he'll be gone before Christmas. If it goes
Yeah.
bad, they usually fire them before then.
Let's get into these games. Premier League preview for the weekend. Some obviously the big games, Arsenal Spurs, but there is some more interesting games. Now it's actually a quiet Saturday. They start off with there's no 12:30 kickoff. That is because United played away in Europe on Wednesday night, so that new
Yeah,
rule means they kick off at 8 o'clock. But Crystal Palace against Fulham, two teams that are they're Fulham got a good one against Luton, but everyone seems to be hitting Luton at the minute. Question marks about Fulham. Doesn't look like they're going to be anywhere near where they were last season. They got quite fortunate with that draw against Hughes, battered by Man City. Crystal
I got,
Palace took the lead last week, but in the end, were run a bit by Villa. Palace are one of them teams, though. I think every season their home form is paramount to any real chance of staying up. How do you see this game going? Difficult to call. I think it'll be probably quite tight. Not many goals in it. How do you see
yeah.
it?
I mean, Palace always play strong at home, and I watched the Fulham Luton game actually because I don't know why. I watched it. Luton battered them. I don't know how Fulham won that game. Like Luton missed so many chances. But Fulham
What
are
was it?
getting
Was
points.
it 1-0? Was it or 2-0?
Yeah, yeah, 1-0, 1-0
1-0.
Fulham. It was 1-0. But
Mhm.
Luton missed so many chances, Gareth. Like it was easy. Luton were easily the better team.
Mhm.
Um, I Crystal Palace away under the lights at Selhurst Park. I think Crystal Palace are going to win this. I think they're going to win.
It won't be
I
that
was
dark at 3 o'clock.
1-0. 1-0, 1-0. I'm going to go for 1-0.
It won't be that dark at 3 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Yeah, true. 1-0 still. I just
Uh,
don't.
I think you're right.
Fulham. I
I
think.
think you're right. I think Palace will win it 1-0. I think it'll be a
Yeah,
board.
Fulham. I read Fulham have the worst record against London teams. Like their record against London teams in general is horrific. Like
Mm, um,
they haven't beaten Arsenal. I think they've beaten Arsenal. I think once in like 40 years. Like Chelsea, they have a similar record against you guys. They have a poor record. So their London record, especially away from home, is really bad. So
yeah. Huge game. This is Luton Wolves. Wolves again are struggling. Luton obviously are pointless. The only team without a point yet. I mean, I already think this is a must win for Luton. I mean, if they lose this, because they've
they're
played a lot of teams
terrible.
that are going to be around them, and you do sense it's going to be very much really, really tough for them to stay up. But they don't want to end up like Derby and be one of the worst ever. Because a lot already people are saying how they even going to get 11 or 12 points because if they won 3 or 4 games or a lot of draws. At the minute, they just don't seem to have the quality, as you said.
No,
Created a lot of chances against Fulham, just couldn't score.
they
I
they
mean,
they
it's a
did. Yeah.
huge game for them. How do you see this game going?
I thought, to the Liverpool fan in the chat, You're talking, but you got pretty lucky against Wolves. Should have scored. They should have made it 2-0. That chance by Cunha, they were so much better than you in the first half. So I think Wolves are good. They just have had the issue ever since the Raul Jimenez injury. They don't have a goal scorer. Like even against Liverpool, they were by far the better team in the first half. They should have been leading 2 or 3-0. They missed a number of chances, but they it was only 1-0, and then Liverpool came back. But I think Wolves are gonna steal this, Gareth. I think they're gonna win 1-0.
I agree. I think they'll win 2-1. I think there could be a few more goals on it, but
I
do
don't
think
I don't know. Wolves rarely score more than a goal, so
uh,
I
I
think
just
two
think
one's
they
a
might
big shot.
score 2 against Luton. Man City against Nottingham Forest.
Oh my
Forest
god.
have a record away record. I mean, you could not have handpicked
Oh
these
my
games
god.
for Man City at the start of the season because it's
Yeah.
funny enough because they play Wolves away next week, and you'd expect them to win that. So there's a good chance they're going to go into that Arsenal game 7-1 out of 7. Does that worry you a wee bit? That if they were to beat Arsenal, then that all of a sudden it could be a massive uphill task.
It doesn't worry me, Gareth. I want us to beat Man City. I want us to be the best, and we need to beat the best. And that's the mentality that you need to have. And if we go in, yeah, okay, they didn't take the chance, but if you play against another team will. So that's the issue. It's not sustainable. That's my
That's
point.
Liverpool fans saying that these teams aren't taking their chances. They're looking at the good. They're looking at the good side, not
Yeah,
looking at
it's not sustainable. It's kind of like Conte with Spurs, where they did accumulate points, but as you said, it wasn't sustainable because you would give the other team too many chances. But yeah, but going on about the Forest game, I mean, it's even if we go in 7 games and they've won all 7, I want us to play the best care. I want us to be back when we were called the Arsenal. We were a big team. We would play, the Bayern Munichs, the Barcelonas, the Man Uniteds. That is what we need to do. And if we were to close the gap, we need to beat Man City. And I expect us to beat Man City because in the Community Shield, their best team against our best team, it was completely 50-50. And I would actually say Arsenal edged it because we had better chances and better XG than them.
Yeah, I'm saying he wouldn't worry about Arsenal closing the gap to Man City. Liverpool will close it instead.
Oh my god! Okay, Liverpool guys, it's over for Liverpool. You're not there anymore, guys. You're
Quick
not
score
there.
prediction. Quick score prediction for this game.
Oh, 6-0 Man City.
I think it'll be quite comfortable. I'm going to go for 4-0 City. Moving on to 5:30 on Saturday, huge game for Everton. Do you know what? I watched the Monday night football. I watched the Monday night football, and I thought Thomas Frank was brilliant, a brilliant guest. Spoke really well, and I think everyone's got a bit of a soft spot for Brentford because they're just so likable. Where they've come from, what they've done, and how they do it is not obviously maybe not as much as haven't done as much as Brighton have, but they're not far behind. Are they? They've done really well on a limited budget. Seem to get players on, and Thomas Frank seems to be able to alter. Against the bigger teams, he tends to be a bit more defensive, but they've got a really good home record, and I think it's going to be very tough for Everton. And there is pressure on Sean Dyche. I've listened to Talk Sport this week. A lot of Everton fans are saying they don't want to watch any more of this crap football. Even against Arsenal, when they were 1-0 down, they still didn't even try to attack. So
it was Gareth. It was a disgrace, man. Like they had 8 or 9 players in their box for most of the game. In their box, there was a time where even Beto was playing as a center back, their striker. It was a joke. Like they didn't. They didn't try and play.
Could be the first manager sacked.
I mean, if they continue like this and they keep losing, because this type of football needs to have some sort of results. Like it's awful to watch. At least get some wins, which they're not. Even though if you read some of their underlying stats in the first 3-4 games before the Arsenal game, they were unlucky. They were very good. Like they should have. I watched them against the Sheffield. They should have easily won that game. They had so many chances against Sheffield. I don't know how it finished 2-2, but I just think Brentford at home is just they're kind of like Palace at home. Like they're super formidable at home. It's a very difficult place, and I think Everton are gonna get battered.
Callum saying he thinks even with a takeover, they can't even afford to sack him. The 4 million's too much. Obviously, there's huge issues there with financial issues.
No, they can afford, but they're not gonna. They're still because takeovers take time. The Everton board can't afford the current one. The Moshiri the current owner has refused to fund any sort of money into the club. So the current board pretty much are paying off wages through loans. So that's why even if they want to fire him,
do you know what? They're crying about the football, but I don't think Everton are gonna. There's gonna be much difference on their new manager. I just don't think they have the players to play good.
No,
attacking
if you look, I don't know about that. They have some good players. I disagree. Like Beto
I
looks
think it was a mistake to sell Obi. It was a massive mistake to sell him.
yeah,
He was one of their best
but
players.
they I don't think they wanted to sell him, Gareth. I think they just
Mm.
needed money. Because they knew they needed a striker because Calvert-Lewin is too busy going to fashion shows than playing
For
football.
me, the only way they stay up is if there's three worse teams than them. Now, Luton, I think, are nailed on.
And I
I
think
think
there is.
Sheffield,
Mhm.
although they haven't got many points, every game's been tight. You think eventually their luck's going to change? They've been done in the last minute a few times. You think
No, they're
eventually
poor.
I don't
They're
know, but they
poor.
look more likely to get points than Everton do at the minute. I think I'll be a worry. Wolves are on the around there. Forest.
No, Wolves. I think Wolves will be fine. Wolves have
I
too
was
many
so
good players,
that's
Gareth.
what I'm saying. So Burnley. So you're already looking. I don't know if there is three worse teams than Everton. So I think they could be in a real scrap this year.
I think if Everton, I think Everton have better players than Burnley. I think if they manage to get on a few good runs, then I think Burnley are too naive, Gareth. Like Burnley
Mm.
remind me a little bit of Norwich. Norwich were sensational in the championship, won it at a stroll, just like Burnley did. But then, guys, you have to adapt. Not every team you play is gonna be Preston North End. There's better teams than you. Most of the teams are better than you in the Premier League. And that's what Norwich didn't get. They tried to play the same way that they did in the championship. And I think it could be the downfall for Burnley. I mean, I don't know. Like they look like even against Nottingham, there were spells where they were very good. Like you were like, wow, they play some good football. They play, but then there were spells where Nottingham were just breaking on them every single time they had the ball. Like Nottingham could have in the first half, they could have scored 2 or 3
Do you know what?
goals. So,
It was. I enjoyed that game. It was brilliant to watch. But
yeah, it was good. It was good.
getting back to the score prediction for this game, Brentford Everton. I fancy Brentford 2-0.
Yeah, 2 or 3 nil. Yeah, this is gonna be an easy one.
Huge game on Saturday night. Burnley Man
Oh
United. I think you says you fancy United 1-0. I don't agree. I think Burnley will get a result here. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
no, I'm changing. I'm gonna go for a draw too. I'm gonna go for a 2-2 draw. I'm
2-2.
changing. Yeah.
Arsenal Spurs, Stefan, last chance to change your mind and save your
No.
fists.
3-1 Arsenal.
2-2. Brighton against Bournemouth. Brighton,
Ooh, that's
good
good.
game as well. Bournemouth are one of them teams at the minute. They're going to very much about like what Ange is saying. But I think Bournemouth are just coming at everyone and they'll take their beatings and they'll pick up points already. I think that they were criticised for making that change in the summer, but I think I've seen a lot of improvement in Bournemouth. Especially going forward. I think they will win enough games to stay up. They will take some beatings along the way, no doubt about it. But Brighton, this could be a good time to play Brighton because they played Thursday night. This is going to be the big test for Brighton for me now. Can they do a Thursday and a Sunday back to back? I think they were slightly unlucky. They probably should have won the game last night. But
I don't know. I watched the highlights. I thought Athens had
I
a
mean,
lot of
how the
too many
referee
chances.
didn't give them 2 penalties? Why they had to go to VAR? They were the most stonewall obvious penalties, and he
That's
didn't give
true.
them.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But no,
I
do you
wish.
know what? I think Brighton will get back to one on ways, but I think it'll be entertaining. I'm going to go for an entertaining 3-2 Brighton one.
I disagree. I'm going to go for a 1-1. I think Bournemouth are the perfect team to expose
Mm,
Brighton a little bit because Bournemouth they're really good on the counter. So I think Brighton, might struggle to play against Bournemouth.
Interesting. Chelsea,
I'm,
Aston Villa, huge
oh,
game for Chelsea. At the minute, Chelsea, I keep saying it every week, Chelsea are the gift that keeps on giving at the minute.
they
They
are.
couldn't
They are.
they couldn't had a donkey's backside with a banjo at the minute. So
No,
they
they're
cannot score goals. And Villa will be dangerous because I think you'll see Villa maybe be a bit defensive because I think Paul Merson said it. Chelsea cannot seem to break down low blocks. So you'd imagine Villa will just say, look, we'll sit back, not play that high line, and hit them on the break, and it could work a treat. So I think this is a huge game for Chelsea. Pochettino, he needs we said he needs time, but you have to buy yourself time. If they lose this, it's more pressure. And we
no.
see Graham Potter in the end, his time was used up because he just could not get results. So, Stefan, how do you see this game going?
You know this from before, Gareth. Villa is my second team, and I just think Emery's gonna play smart. He's gonna just like last year when they beat Chelsea 2-0. I think Emery's gonna play on the counter attack, and
I
I
seen the
think
stats for that game today. Last year, Chelsea lost the game 2-0. Chelsea
yeah,
had 30 shots. Villa had
yeah,
2.
yeah. But if
That incredible, incredible. If that doesn't tell you Chelsea's problems, there's your answer.
no, but even I remember the game. Even if you watch those 30 shots were flattering, Gareth. They like barely any of them were actually like a big chance. So I just think Chelsea, their squad is poor. They have no balance anywhere. They signed a striker that's a winger. Let's be honest, in Nicholas Jackson, um, and I
Did
just
you
think,
say you think Chelsea won't make a top 10? Is that right?
yeah, that was, and
If
everybody everybody
if they
laughed
don't,
at me.
no, but if they don't make a top 10, does Pochettino be in charge next season?
I think Poch will get fired this year because
Mm,
the owners,
I agree. I don't think that'll be acceptable.
no, I think Poch will get fired before the end of the season. I think that club right now is a complete dumpster fire because of the way it's run. And any coach, and especially a former Spurs coach, they've booed their team now two weeks in a row. They booed them against Forest when they lost, and they booed them against Bournemouth. Do you really? If they lose to Villa at home, they're going to
Uh,
get strong boos. And the owners are extremely, all the owner cares about is how he looks in the media and how the fans view him. The guy goes on Twitter Spaces to comment. So that's the owner of Chelsea. So the moment they start booing him, he's going to get affected. Poch is going to be gone. And I think the biggest reason for that is that Chelsea fans have a much less tolerance for him because they just look down on the fact that he's a former Spurs coach.
mm.
So
Um,
I think that's going to help
Score
his.
prediction for this game.
I'm going to go for 2-0 Villa. Again, same as last year. Villa's strike force, man, Diaby and Watkins, they're going to score goals, man.
Do you know what?
Especially if
Every week I've been saying, surely Chelsea this week. Sure, and I've ran out of patience. So I do think as
they
well.
lost to Nottingham. They lost
I
to the team that had the worst away record.
you couldn't sit here and predict that Chelsea won. It's impossible. So I agree. I think Villa will win the game 2-1. I'm going
Yeah.
to say Chelsea are going to score a goal, but Villa's going to beat them
Really?
2-1.
Who? Gareth, who's going to score the goal for Chelsea?
OG, maybe an OG. Liverpool, West Ham, an hour big game at
Ooh,
2
this
o'clock.
is an amazing game.
This is interesting because West Ham, decent start to the season. They were 1-0 up against Man City last week and they imploded. You know, the one thing you always associate with David Moyes' teams is they're hard to break. They were awful in that
Extremely
second half.
hard.
I mean, balls over the top, scoop passes. They were letting runners go off them. I don't know if that was just pressure when they were 1-0 up. I don't know, but they were very good in the first half. This is the type of team that possibly could cause Liverpool problems. We've seen West Ham away at Brighton. They hit them in the counter attack. They'll not be interested in ball possession. They'll just try and soak up pressure and hit in the break. Liverpool have been quite poor in first halves this season. We even seen last night they were poor in the first half against Lask, poor in the first half against Wolves, poor in the first half against Newcastle. They seem to be second half specialists at the moment. And you were saying to me you don't think this is sustainable. You can't really be playing
No, it's
45
not.
minutes every week.
No, and you can't keep coming back from losing positions. They were losing against Newcastle, they came back. They were losing against Wolves, they came back. They were losing. This
Bournemouth as
has
well.
Yeah,
Bournemouth as well.
yeah, Bournemouth. These things have a shelf life, and I think West Ham are the perfect team to expose Liverpool because they play exactly the weaknesses of Liverpool. They will
Mm.
defend super deep and they will break on Liverpool. They will give them 70% possession, just like they did. They gave 82% possession to Brighton and beat them 3-0. And Brighton had zero chances. Why? Because they broke on them 3 times and scored. And I think West Ham, the only thing that makes me doubt this is that they're at Anfield. But I just
Mm.
think West Ham are the perfect team. And I think you're harsh on West Ham about they had a number. I remember Antonio missed a really big one-on-one with Ederson when it was 1-1. They missed a number of chances. And I remember after that from the corner, I think it was Zuma who Ederson made a really good save. So they had a number of chances against Man City. And
Yeah.
I think they will have again. It depends. I mean, if Trent plays on the break, this is going to be a big issue. I know you have a lot of Liverpool fans tuning in. Guys, hate me, but I'm telling you, this is not sustainable. Because this time, if West Ham score first, guys, West Ham defend deep. This is going to be a major, and you're going to play into West Ham's hands, which is if they score first,
Score prediction.
for me, this game, I'm going to go for 1-0 West Ham.
Ooh, do you know what? I think it will be tricky, but I do expect Liverpool. West Ham have an awful record at Anfield. Can't remember the last time they won a game. Terrible. They haven't won there for a long time. But I think Liverpool at home again, even when they don't play at their best, they always seem to find a way. I think Liverpool won this game 2-1, but it will be tight. Final game of the weekend, Sheffield United against Newcastle. have to say, haven't been impressed with Newcastle. I thought they were very
Me
lucky
too.
against AC, very lucky
They
against
were
AC
so
Milan.
lucky. AC Milan
And even
battered.
against Brentford, it was a poor game of football. It was terrible to watch. They don't look to be playing with the same fluid. I don't think the Tonali coming on yet has worked. He's a good player, but I don't think that sort of. I think that midfield's been upset a wee bit. So this will be tricky because as we've seen with Sheffield United, they've made every game they've had tough for their opponents. I think every game they've lost has been by 1 goal, as I said, 3 times in the last minute. And you would expect them to again sit back, soak up, and with them being at home, it might help them a wee bit. How do you see this game going? I mean, it's not the most glamour 4:30 kickoff for me. It should be Arsenal Spurs, but what do you think?
I mean, this could be a banana. I agree with you, Gareth. Newcastle have been really and only really poor, right? It's not the fact that they're playing bad football. They're not playing well. Defensively, they've looked so open, Gareth. They
Yeah,
like Milan in the first 40 in the first half, they
and that was
tore
an AC Milan team that were battered by Inter Milan. You know, it
yeah,
wasn't like
Rafael Leao absolutely tore Kieran Trippier apart. Like he was tearing them. I don't know how they didn't score 2 or 3 goals in the first half. Like they could have easily won that game. So I'm a bit worried. I think Sheffield got a bit of a confidence boost. I thought they played quite well against Spurs. And I don't know, maybe the other thing I've noticed with Newcastle is they're struggling to score goals also, Gareth.
yeah.
So this is gonna be a
Needed
tight
a
game.
very fortunate penalty last week. They beat Brentford.
Yeah, very fortunate. I completely agree with you. Very fortunate. This could be this is a
I
tight game.
think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
Same. I'm gonna go for 1-1. I agree with you. I don't think they'll
Um,
win this. I think they're gonna have a bit of a European hangover. This is their first week.
And that is the Premier League preview. Rounded up. Stefan, what a show! So much chat. You know what? It's been great to see the interaction with so many people as well. I mean, I think they enjoy you, and you're very strong in your opinions. And you know what? If Liverpool have a good season, they could hold it over your heads.
Yeah,
But
of course. That's
we're
the
going to have you
point.
back. We'll have you back on probably in the next couple of weeks because you are a
Oh,
very popular guest.
well,
Very
thank you,
very good,
thank you.
very very good football man. Not just Arsenal. You're very you know your stuff. And it's always a pleasure to be on the podcast. I hope you have a great weekend up until Sunday, and then I hope your Sunday is very miserable.
Yeah.
But wee comment here before we go. There, wrong button. Great show, Callum saying. Enjoy the game on Sunday. Thanks, Callum.
Thank
James
you.
also saying he thanks Liverpool 1-3-1. James, thanks for your comments. And thanks to everyone that's listened. Stefan, one more chance before you go to change your mind. What do you think on Sunday?
I'm not. I told you I'm gonna be more realistic. I'll say 3-1. But I have a slight feeling we're really gonna hand it to you. Like it's gonna be bad. Like it's gonna be like the Harry Redknapp 5-2. Like it's gonna be bad.
As I said, everyone in the game on Sunday is 2 o'clock. I feel sorry for Liverpool fans and Chelsea fans and all our clubs that because they're all going to have a duty to watch their own team. But I'm sure they'll see the highlights. It'll be a fantastic game. I think whatever
There will be.
happens, there's going to be fireworks. Stefan, as I said, enjoy your weekend up this Sunday. I'm sure I'll be in contact with you.
For sure.
And if you're unreachable, I actually hope you're unreachable. I hope you're
No,
unreachable.
Garrett, don't worry. I'm gonna show up. If you guys beat us, I'll show up. Like that's the point. Like we actually banter each other. We joke around, but that's the point. But trust me, I will be on show. If you beat us, I will message you. I will say well done, this and that. Like because that's the point.
Look
But
at that
if
time. We done
if
90
yeah,
minutes. We done 90
yeah.
minutes plus 13 added on. So hopefully we don't see anything like that on Sunday. I will be petrified if it's taken on the injury time.
No, but
At
listen,
Emirates.
but get ready. If we batter you, there is gonna be a lot of tweets, Garrett, dedicated to you. I'm
If you
coming
batter
for
us, we'll not have to see. We'll not be seeing you again on here.
you.
Don't worry.
And Gareth, because we put him in the best 11. I expect Basuma to come big this game.
Get
I don't
ready.
want to
Get
hear.
ready. He's coming.
I don't want to hear it's a free pass and all of that because I know the Spurs fans in my WhatsApp group have already got the excuses ready. It was a free pass. It was we weren't expected to win and all of that. So I expect if we batter you, which I have a slight feeling it might happen. I have that feel. It reminds me a little bit of the times when we were kind of the Harry Redknapp years where you were kind of close to Arsenal, where you were talking about you had some really good players. And then I remember, I think it was the first year Henry had left and we beat you 3-0 at the Emirates. I think Adebayor scored. I think. Oh yeah,
Gilberto.
Fabregas. Fabregas scored that ridiculous goal from the halfway line where he went past everybody. And I
Look, it's going to be absolutely fantastic on Sunday.
it's gonna be
Stefan's
great.
excited. I'm very excited. James saying, "Come on, Spurs." James, thanks very much for your comment. You're welcome on anytime. But look, next week as well, it's going to be a big week for the podcast. We're going to have Callum on, big Liverpool fan. We're going to be
Yeah.
previewing Spurs Liverpool, so more about games to come.
Ooh.
Remember to like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. And Stefan, thanks very much for coming on. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Gareth, for the actual time, and yeah, good luck, and up until Sunday, of course, and yeah, then we're gonna talk after that. See what's the aftermath of that game. But thanks for having me on. It was a great chat, great topics. But you know what, Gareth, for the next show when we play, we gotta focus more, because no matter what happens between us and Spurs, at least we're not Chelsea, man. So we gotta focus more on Chelsea a little bit and just make
100%.
fun of them. Right?
Man, thanks as always.
See you, man. Thank you.